Hello, welcome. It's yet another A Star to Steer Her By, your favorite Star Trek watching podcast. We know it is. This week, we are wrapping up Season 5 of The Voyager and taking a little peek into whatever the first bit of Season 6 is, because that's how they do. Because this season, they decided to end with another two-parter thing. Why? So, the episodes we're looking at this week for our episode 292, Woohoo! Ooh! Are going to be Warhead and Equinox parts 1 and 2.
Ooh, nice.
As always, this is Ames.
As usual, this is Caitlin.
This is Jake.
As is frequently the case, this is Chris, and is sometimes the case.
This is Carl. Hello.
Oh, sweet. We have our guest star.
Thanks for good to see you. Good to be here on the gateway to season 6.
Yeah, it's an interesting time in Voyager. We'll take a look at it when we hit that. But first, we're going to talk about Warhead. An exciting time for all of us. So here's what we got to know about Warhead. Launching directly in. It's the night shift, and Harry gets to sit up in his high chair and be a big boy. And a distress call comes in, and he immediately can't fucking handle it. So he brings a team planetside, and they find an artificial intelligence in some kind of cute little torpedo tube that has amnesia. Sorry, buddy. The EMH instantly bonds with this thing until it turns out that this cute little torpedo is actually a big fucking torpedo with its finger on the nuke button. Holy Cold War, Batman.
Womp womp.
Yikes. So Torres and Kim, they're trying to disarm this thing in sickbay. But instead of doing that, it decides to possess the EMH, mentioned in our Possessions blog post. You check it out on sshbpodcast.com. And it suddenly remembers its mission. And its mission is to go blow shit up, guys, like you do when you're a warhead, like the title says. What else goes on? We pad the episode a little bit to go chat with Neelix's merchant friend, Onkwanai, who happens to know about this tech. But he's probably just going to sell it on the black market, so we're not a big fan of that. So he goes and gets himself exploded. Sorry, friend. Kim is feeling like a butt about this whole thing, because it was all his fault. So he tries to reason with the Warhead, who is just having fucking none of it. But they do learn that this war thing against their enemy was called off years ago. You can be a person now, Warhead, just like EMH. But it still won't listen to Harry Kim, because why would you? Seven tries this last-ditch effort to infiltrate sickbay and use her nanoprobe powers, but she gets her ass knocked unconscious just in time for like 32 other warheads to show up and say, "We want our friend." And we're like, "No, you can't have your friend. You'll just blow something up." So finally, our warhead happens to realize, oh wait, Harry wasn't lying, and here's the confirmation email with my ticket stub. Dang it, I guess I have to go to this thing. I'll have to just blow up all my friends so that we don't perpetuate this continuous war, and they'll never put Harry in charge again. The end.
Yay!
Wow.
So, Seven's nanoprobes, I've realized, are the modify the deflector dish of late-stage Voyager.
Yeah, they're using everything.
And yeah,
Did you know that she could mind meld with a wall? A metal wall?
Here, that's really what we're going to pick. So, TOS, Spock just got news powers as needed.
Yep, which included magical eyelids.
Yep.
And not being susceptible to electric shock.
Heart in the wrong place.
Heart in the wrong place.
Green blood.
Green blood, yep.
TNG, it was very much the deflector dish. This, it was deflector dish until they got nanoprobes.
DS9, it was let's talk to an orb for some fucking reason.
No, DS9, it was O'Brien is the greatest engineer in history.
That's actually
I don't know. I like Caitlin's idea of
let's talk to an orb for some reason.
Yeah, prophet ex machina there, just solving our problems for us when we get ourselves in too deep.
Let's say bit of both.
Maybe O'Brien was a prophet.
That explains some things.
Both the same thing.
Oh.
What would he be the orb of? Despair?
The orb of suffering.
Yes.
It's like
Personally,
this is like orbs are Horcruxes, and he's just is. Sorry,
I personally always believed that O'Brien is a Time Lord. I can't prove that, but he must be.
It checks out.
He seems to have a lot of lives.
Yeah, I think Chris brought that up a little bit in one of his recent fanfics. The Harry Kim one.
Oh, yeah, well, that he's sort of, a little out of sorts because he's not quite right with time.
But yeah, on the nanoprobe thing, I don't know. I think I'm okay with it, but I wish that they had called them something other than nanoprobes. Because it sounds gross, but also it's just like, I mean, they're little tiny microscopic programmable robots, and then that kind of makes sense that they can do all kinds of magical shit because you can just program them to do what you want.
Oh yeah, Alex, I'm not really complaining. As we just said, there's a long line of magic in Star Trek. It's just funny that I realized it at some point. It's like, man, they've stopped leaning on the magic deflector dish, and now it's magic nanoprobes.
Yeah.
I think this episode also includes another magic thing used a lot in this and Deep Space Nine, which is the phony sensor readings. They seem to lean on that a lot.
That's true.
And it's weird. It seems like you shouldn't be able to do that so easily.
When do we see
easily foolable sensors.
When do we see the phony sensor readings?
Well, in this week, part of the plan is that they fool the evil EMH into there's a battle going on, and that's why Seven is dinged up.
Oh, right,
because
they're going through a minefield, and they fake that they're hitting mines.
I was going to say, I really appreciate that summary, Ames, because this is one of those episodes where like the plan would not stick in my head. I kept forgetting, like, why is she banged up? Oh, right, that's a fake, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's also interesting to me that I have to give the writers credit, and more credit than I normally would give them here, because they thought it out pretty well. Like their subterfuge worked, and like it made sense.
I think Neelix's makeup job could have been more gruesome. I was hoping to see like bone.
I mean, it's network television. You can only go so far.
Fair.
I thought you meant that they only had so much money for that particular makeup, but I guess that's true.
Maybe both, but the money's just a moot point when the censor isn't even going to let you try.
The other thing that we saw this week that isn't necessarily how we fix problems, but more like how problems get embiggened, is the bad guys taking over the Doctor. Like, I feel like that kind of happens, a lot this week, but I feel like it's happened before.
He was Hyde for a day, and that was a bad idea, Doc.
Yeah, a lot of evil MH this week.
Eve MH. No, that doesn't work.
No.
I mean, it would just still be EMH.
I know, that's the problem.
Extreme maple ham, am I right? That was only for Chris. We should cut that.
Probably.
No, it'll make sense when we get to the next episode.
Ugh, one of those jokes? Dear Lord.
There's going to be so many, I'm sorry.
Oh, God, please no.
It won't be as bad as Seinfeld week.
Ames really, really hates fun episodes, especially our fun episodes.
Yeah, I hate your fun. You guys have the wrong kind of fun. My fun is watching people get murdered, so...
I like to listen to podcasts about people getting murdered, but I don't know about watching it.
So,
but yeah, one thing that kind of bugged me about this episode is how patronizing and condescending everybody is to Harry Kim at the start.
Harry, you can go on. You can lead your own away mission. Don't worry, I'll be here to fix it when it goes wrong.
There's this whole scene between Janeway and Chakotay where they're kind of like exchanging glances, like they're talking to a 4-year-old when they're talking to Harry Kim. And it's like, come on, guys. He's a fucking senior officer. He's not, fucking Scrappy-Doo. Jesus.
I feel like this is a knock-on effect of fucking The Disease. Where he's like Janeway's special little boy. Like, at the time, we were like, are you kidding? It's season 5.
Yeah, it's very funny. He makes a comment to be like, I've been on the ship for 5 years, and I say, like, everyone has, Harry. That's what this ship is about. Have you watched Star Trek Voyager yet before, or what?
But they do seem to kind of forget it with him this season.
Yeah.
And actually, technically speaking, he was on another ship for a couple years. I mean, it was also the Voyager.
Ah, yes.
But they're all dead.
I mean, it was the same ship. It was split in that episode. So.
No, I know. I'm just being a wise ass.
Yeah, I think I really like Harry Kim's acting in this episode. I feel like he knows all this and he's sick of it, and he is beginning to try to dress for the job he wants. You know what I mean? Like, he's trying to seem tougher. And I did like the scene with him and the junior officers, like, taking the piss out of each other a little bit. Like, because I feel like the people close to Harry kind of know that it's time for him to advance, and he knows it, but he can't. It's that thing when you're like the junior person in the company, but you can't do anything. It's like, what, all right, I'll start carrying myself like this. I'll straighten my posture, and I'll just try to be less cute.
I'll replace the Snoopy watch with a regular watch.
Yes.
It reminded me a little bit of Troy in Disaster, where, they make it a point, though, in Disaster to be like, yeah, no, she's actually kind of making bad decisions and just kind of works out by accident. But
until she sacrifices Geordi, that's a good decision.
Well, that was a different episode. That's a follow-up episode, which is similar.
Oh, okay.
Disaster is the one where the ship, is all fucked up and she's alone on the bridge with Ro and O'Brien, and O'Brien has to, and like Ro wants to take command, but O'Brien's like, well, technically Troy is the boss, and then Ro is really pissed off about it. But
sorry, Ro.
But like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you take a character that should be competent and kind of artificially make them, or at least treat them like they aren't.
Yeah.
And they kind of do the same thing to Harry.
The
writers do him a favor and make it so that he actually is very competent.
True. Yeah, the whole episode, I kept thinking to myself, this should have been a Chakotay episode. We should have not had the fight because we didn't need it, and put Chakotay in this role because Harry was doing all things Chakotay would do. Like, go reason with the probe. That's exactly what we've seen Chakotay do before, of, try to talk it out, try to, get all the information you can. None of, like, aside from the, people are going to treat me like a baby, none of this was really a Harry Kim story to me.
Yeah, I feel like it was set up like a Harry Kim story, but then the Doctor stole it, which is always a risk with him. I know, yeah.
Well, and so much of the focus was on him. Like, they occasionally cut to Harry trying to talk to him, but yeah, I feel like the script's focus drifted.
And it's that last line, too, is like, well, you know what, Kim? Voyager could do worse than having you in command. And it's like the writers being like, wasn't this script about Harry at some point? Oh, yeah, I guess we should
wrap that up.
He impressed people. That's right.
Yeah, after 5 fucking years of impressing people in other episodes, we've forgotten all those times. Remember when Harry beamed a bomb onto a Borg cube and saved the day? No one remembers that. The logs got lost. This is brand new, fresh-faced Harry.
Yeah, see, I think a perfect ending to this episode would have been promoting Kim to lieutenant.
That'd be nice,
right? Because the whole beginning of the episode is, I'm trying to take more responsibilities, because taking night shifts so I can kind of come up in the ranks, and then everyone kind of agrees that yes, Harry did a great job in spite of this situation. And I think that at the end it would have been nice if Janeway had recognized that and given him the promotion that he obviously deserves.
Instead, at the end, like, they don't say anything, but that night shift pilot has the extra pip instead.
No!
Were playing around in sickbay, I got a promotion.
They put a little pip on the drone. Send the drone out with all the pips.
Yeah, that was an interesting character addition in this episode, was that Jenkins? Was that the name? I can't remember. I think it was something like that. The night shift friend of Harry's who kind of seems to look up to him as she's kind of a lower decker, I guess.
How are there still people junior of Harry? It's been 5 years.
Yeah, no one has gotten promoted.
Yeah.
Except Tuvok.
But that was made up for by demoting Paris.
Yeah, so everybody is at status quo on average.
There's a finite pool of pips. They can't replicate new ones without spending replicator rations. So
see, they could have given Tom's pip to Harry.
Yeah, perfect.
This is an episode, it's just so inessential to me. Like, when I was watching it, I was kind of wishing I was watching other Trek episodes on the same theme, like Arsenal of Freedom or something.
Dreadnought was the same episode.
Dreadnought.
I was about to say, that's the B'Elanna one, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up at some point. It's like, haven't we kind of done this sort of?
Yeah.
A little?
And it really, for my money, like the fight is better than this.
Really? You're kidding me.
It's more interesting to watch than this.
Fucking disagree.
See, I'm going to give this one an edge simply because of Picardo's performance.
That's a good point. I also give this one an edge because there's no fucking dream sequences.
Yeah,
okay, but to be fair, Robert Beltran was trying his best with absolute shit on
fair.
Well, he did his best on this episode and rocked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he is. I would watch him read the phone book. He's just that compelling automatically.
Yeah, and like I think comparing this to Dreadnought is, I think that's the thing, right? Like that this is an identical episode, just with more EMH in this one.
Dreadnought even had Torres's voice.
Yeah, Dreadnought's a lot cleverer, honestly. Like, one thing that I think holds this back is the AI doesn't really have that much of a personality, whereas the Juggernaut AI kind of does. Like, you know?
So the perfect foil for jingoistic, war-hungry American politicians. Just angry. That's all we got. Just rage. Just blow it up. This was John McCain as a warhead.
The other thing I like better about Dreadnought is that the missile in that episode was sent by B'Elanna. So there's higher stakes because in this case it's like, all right, some unknown aliens that we'll never meet are trying to annihilate some other unknown aliens we'll never meet
and don't even learn the name of.
And Voyager just kind of gets into the middle of this. And that's fine. And like Janeway could very easily just be like, yeah, no, we're going to release you and let you go on your merry way and destroy whoever you want. But of course, Starfleet. But at least in Dreadnought, there was this sense that this bad thing is happening and it's my fault, right? I sent this thing and now I have to fix it.
Yeah, if we had disarmed this warhead, there's 32 other warheads on their way. And here's where maybe you guys can help me figure out this timeline. Because I got a little lost of how long have these warheads been traveling. Because it sounds like 3 years ago the war ended. But at some point between 3 years ago and today, 34 of them got unleashed. And then they had to send our mistake, please cancel yourselves, like frantic message to them. 2 of them crashed into a planet, one of whom utterly destroyed itself. The other just nestled nicely in a rock. While the other 32 never got the message? Like, what happened?
No, okay, so the timeline, you're right on the timeline. The war ended 3 years ago, and the 34 missiles were launched accidentally. It was like a malfunction that launched them. So they've only been flying for a short time.
Good thing your intergalactic ballistic missile system is so easily glitched out, guys.
Well, there was there's actually like a historical, real life kind of precedent for something like this. There was a Soviet system called the Dead Hand that was essentially a dead man switch that if it thought it detected a missile launch, would automatically start preparing to launch missiles.
Oh God! What qualifies as think this is a missile launch?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like we're talking about like 1970s tech or something, you know, like stuff that's not exactly top of the line today. So
not just 1970s tech, 1970s Soviet tech.
Yeah, and from my understanding, there were several, or at least one close call where that system almost went off. And I think even the Soviets are like, yeah, we should probably not do this.
Christ.
So yeah, so it's almost like maybe there was something like that where the aliens had a dead man switch and there was some glitch that thought it was under attack, or like Whopper. Remember Whopper from War Games? Same thing.
I've never actually seen War Games.
War Games is a great film.
And these aliens were also using Soviet tech?
I guess so. Yeah.
Parallel development.
Yeah.
Yes.
Short version of War Games. The U.S. government puts their nuclear arsenal at the hands of an AI.
Whoopsie.
And then a kid hacks into it.
Was this the Fred Savage movie?
No,
this is
Matthew Broderick. Yes.
Yeah, a kid hacks into the thing thinking that it's a video game and then fools the computer into thinking that it's under nuclear attack.
Because it's fun.
So it's like, oh shit, I'm under nuclear attack. I'm going to launch the missiles now. Bye. Anyway,
Which came first, War Games or Ferris Bueller?
War Games, I think.
I think he's younger in that, yeah.
Yeah.
And
You would
they
need
after
Ferris
that
Bueller to calm down after War Games,
Yeah.
I think.
But the other, Thames, to your other question, though, about why the other ones didn't get the
Yeah,
message, they
yeah,
did.
yeah.
But there was a point of no return. And it sounds like 32 of the missiles had already crossed the point of no return, after which they can't be called back. And that because when our warhead was talking to them and trying to convince them, no, our orders got canceled, you should turn home. They were like, yeah, we got that order too, but we were already past the point of no return, so we can't turn back.
So they got further out than our warhead did?
Yeah, so our warhead must have been
okay.
just before that, him and his buddy,
What-
and they were like, okay, we'll just go crash into this planet harmlessly.
What doesn't really make sense, though, is on the one hand, they got ahead of them. On the other hand, they seem to just kind of be hanging out until they detected the other warhead, at which point they suddenly went into warp. Like, there's definitely something going on with the rest of those warheads that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Or it's just part of the glitch.
I believe the evil doctor ordered Janeway to change course to where he knew the warheads were.
I thought he had her change course to his target planet.
I think we saw at some point, and here's another option. I think we saw all of the other warheads notice Voyager in like a little program, a little atlas they had, and then they decided to go there.
Yeah. Well, I think generally Voyager is a lot faster than the warheads, even though they have warp. I imagine they don't go warp, 9 or whatever that Voyager does.
That's true.
So Voyager, even though our warhead was behind his friends at the start, Voyager caught up and overtook them. And then they probably like, oh shit, there's our friend. He's ahead of us. We should speed up and catch up to him.
Yeah. This accidental launch, I guess, just could have been way more recent than I think I realized.
I think it was. I think it's very recent, actually. I think it's probably within days, if not hours.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I know when we find Warhead on that planet, he has sent out some kind of distress signal because he has forgotten who he is and thinks he's just a guy.
Which is a really weird AI to give your missile.
It's fascinating. I like it.
Like, I get, you want to have an AI so it can make clever decisions and such, but I feel like having it be like, oh god, why can't I feel my arms and legs? It's like, even if it gets exactly who it is, like, it should know it never had arms or legs. Like, why was it programmed to wonder where stuff it never had was?
Because he broke fully.
Yeah. This is exactly what would have made it interesting to me. Like, I feel like those scenes with Picardo and talking to the warhead are just so flat for me.
No, they're best friends now.
Oh, yeah.
I ship them hard.
They're buds. Oh, they could hang out, yeah. Well, just compared to, like, I remember that Deep Space Nine episode where Odo was relating to, like, a young changeling, and it was so good.
Oh, the little blobby blob.
And this is, the
that's
blobby
a great
blob.
episode.
And this just didn't match it for me. But, one thing that this episode brings up is that it seems to hint that, like, AI might be inherently empathic. And I wonder if you thought that was true. Obviously, we've got a lot of AI chatbots going around lately.
True.
But, like, are they, we know these things, like, just grab what's around them and reshape them into patterns. But, like, do you automatically become empathetic if you do that enough?
No.
I also liked how vain Warhead is when, EMH is talking to him. And he says, no, you're really cute. You're a very attractive little torpedo. And Warhead's like, okay, good, I'm glad. What kind of body are you going to give me when I'm a hologram? I hope I'm going to be hot. You'll be super hot. The
See,
hottest
that again,
Warhead.
though, like, that's what Chris said, like, that's, like, why is it defaulting to that? Like, I'm legitimately curious.
I wonder if it's just like some kind of general AI that got loaded into the warhead.
And they just tacked on a warhead subroutine that
like maybe that, like, because that's sort of something that people talk about in terms of like AI ethics in the present day, where it's like, okay, so you can create AIs for very specific things. You can create an AI to generate artwork. You can create an AI to generate sounds. You can get, or conversations or whatever. But sort of the holy grail is the general AI that just mimics human brains
and learns
shit.
And
people say, well, at that point, you've basically created life, or potentially, right? You've created something that can think for itself and experience its own reality. So maybe that's what the AI in the warheads are. It's just a general AI that is basically a human, and it just has been specifically programmed to do this one task. But other than that, it's still fully capable of learning and experiencing.
That would make sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I would buy that.
But yeah, to your point, Carl, I was reading very recently an article about this guy was trying to make a true virtual Twitch streamer. In that it was like hooked up to a chat bot that would learn and respond. And the problem, like so many of these things, is it's hooked up to the internet.
Yeah. It instantly became a Nazi.
No.
Yes.
No, that really. It got banned from Twitch for hate speech.
Oh,
I remember
wow.
that.
This was like a couple weeks ago as of recording. So like, answer your question, AIs are not automatically empathetic, at least if you hook them up to the internet. Do not do that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, the one kind of cool part of this episode is when, you know, Harry says, "Look at Seven. Look at she's banged up. You did that. You're going to do that to all these other people." Like that's like, would that work? And I think, I mean, you're right. I mean, maybe an AI would either be like an empath or like a complete sociopath. Maybe those are the only
just
two
too
choices.
extreme.
Nothing in between.
I mean, it depends on the data you give it, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of it for this certainly is like actually being given a body to tootle around in probably helped.
I thought you just said, Chris, a daddy instead of
I also kind of
like, yeah, that works too.
Daddy.
No.
Yeah.
See, now, okay, I'm going to tell you what I think. It's a totally different episode, but what I think would have been a much more interesting episode. So we start out pretty much the same. We bring the warhead on.
Is it still Harry Kim in charge?
It doesn't matter.
What?
Somebody's in charge.
Chakotay's in charge.
Because it's actually not going to be a Harry Kim episode. It's going to be a EMH episode. And I know we've already had a lot of those, but bear with me. So EMH, as we saw in the beginning, kind of bonded with the thing, and then they succeed in loading it into a new holographic body separate from the Doctor. There's no longer a mind possession situation. It's just another AI.
Is he hot?
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's even a lady. I don't know. Who knows? It can be whatever.
It's Marco Lamo.
But yes, it's Marco Lamo in
With
full
neck.
Ducat makeup. And B'Elanna is really pissed off about it. No, but so that all happens, and then the AI learns about, oh, I'm a missile, like that makes me sad because I'm a good guy. I'm nice. I don't want to be an object of destruction. And then they find out that there's the 32 other missiles that are still heading towards the other planet, and now the object is EMH working with Missile to try and convince or otherwise stop the other missiles. And then it becomes like an AI ethics sort of episode. And then in the end, you can still have it so that like, oh shit, we've tried everything and we're all out of ideas. The last thing we can do is put the AI back into the missile, and he'll
That's kind of like Drone though from earlier this season.
Yeah,
with our friend One.
That's basically Drone now.
Yeah.
Dang it.
I guess there's nothing you can do with this episode that doesn't result in just copying another episode, another better episode.
Yeah.
They it's 3 days before the end of the season. They realize, oh, we forgot. It was 26 episodes, not 25.
Yeah.
All right, which episode can we redo?
Yeah, they flipped a coin between
Pride of
Drone
Chaotica.
and Dreadnought, and it landed on Edge.
Yeah, it landed on its side. And just for fun, they threw in a little bit of that brainwashed soldier Chakotay episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nemesis.
There we
Yeah,
go.
I heard a lot of that. Anytime it was like, we have to go destroy the enemy, I'm like, you have to destroy Nemesis, your Nemesis.
The lesson of this is just the EMH is not allowed to make holographic friends. It never ends well.
Oh, poor thing.
Freya-
Freya was it didn't work out.
Freya
but-
was killed. His little, alien data hologram buddy was a fucking psychopath. Fuck, what else was there? I feel like there was another one I was thinking of.
well, his wife and kids.
Right, yes, his family was a disaster.
I'd say the one exception though is the Vidian
Dinara
Dinara
Dinar Pell, who is a good person,
but might be dead now.
but might be dead now.
No, the
either.
think tank cured them. They're fine now.
No, we even before that episode, we were positive she was executed by the Vidians for helping them that time.
Oh, God, you're right. Oh,
Yeah,
the
no,
poor
she's dead.
thing.
Yeah, no hollow friends for the Doctor. Oh, and from earlier this season, Lizard Doctor there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just turned out to be Space
Mangala.
Girls. I mean, Mangala, yeah.
And I guess you could also maybe count his holographic 7 from Someone to Watch Over Me.
That was...
Yeah. Shades of Geordi there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, little tidbit I noticed. I don't know if anyone else saw this, but I looked up Ensign Jenkins because I thought she was familiar.
Oh, I didn't
And
look her up.
She wasn't at all, it turns out. She's not been in
Okay.
anything I know, aside from several episodes of this and a few other things. But she's actually Michael Westmore or Westmoreland. One of their main makeup people. She's his kid.
I think it's just
Oh,
Westmore.
that's cool.
Yeah, that sounds right. Michael Westmore. She's
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Why didn't they put her under a lot of makeup?
Good
I mean,
question.
it's funny. I just found it so odd in a way to introduce a character who, anytime a random crew person gets lines, it's like, okay, this person's going to be a focus of the episode, or they're going to die. Like those are the two options. But in this case,
She's just there.
she's just there, and she's only there at the very beginning and the very end, which I assume were just probably filmed on the same day.
Almost
Probably.
certainly.
So she probably only got called in once.
Yeah, because they use that set once and then you leave.
Yeah.
I think she still had more lines than Ayala at this point, who's been in more episodes.
Yeah.
I'm starting to notice him everywhere.
Yay!
Well, I could use more stuff like that. The Lower Decks kind of episodes are great, but I like this kind of idea of the junior staff being distinct from both the Lower Decks and the middle class of the ship,
Yeah.
perhaps. Like that could be interesting.
Yeah, if it wasn't probably a scheduling nightmare / expense, it would be nice to have just semi-recurring minor crewmates who show up just a couple times a season.
I will complain about that and when we talk about this next episode. So, oh boy.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they got all those new Equinox crew.
Well,
We're going to see
get
them
there.
so much.
I have one more thing I want to bring up on this episode first before we get there, and this will segue nicely. So, here we go. What did you guys think about our newest friend on Quanai, the merchant who blew up?
I thought he was fine. But he was like your
So sleazy.
your generic sleazy merchant of whom we've seen dozens.
So many, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked his makeup though.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I've already forgotten what he looked like.
It was bluey, I think.
Exactly. This episode resists memory. There's a moment.
It's like that
just
episode with
bland to me.
Chakotay and the woman that
Unforgettable. Yeah.
unforgettable.
Or like when
There-
the EMH was losing his memories because people were fucking with his programming.
Exactly. Or it's like Beverly being the last person on the Enterprise.
Yes.
And characters disappearing. There is a line every time I watched it. What was it? Tom Paris going, okay, but I guess asking me to give you a bumpy ride is like asking a virtuoso to sing off key. And
Shut
every
up,
time
Tom.
he says that, it kicks my head out of the episode. I immediately start thinking about laundry. Which is why I keep forgetting the plan, because that's why they explain the plan.
I like to
Yeah.
think that somewhere in the background, B'Elanna was rolling her eyes.
Yes.
It was such a bad line, it curled her hair.
I like the
Tom
hair.
will do that, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hate it. It's a mess.
No, I like it. It's wavy.
She looks like she and Paris just did some rough fuck on the Hollow Suite, and then she hasn't fixed it since.
That's right. I've looked up the merchant. I'd
Yes.
forgotten his look, but I very much liked his blue suit. I remembered that.
Oh yeah, the blue suit was good. This is also our friend Steve Dennis, who we've seen a bunch of times. He played both Night Aliens. He played Phenom back in Think Tank. And also, he's going to play Crewman Thompson in Equinox, which we're going to
Whoa.
discuss.
Oh,
Crewman
shit.
Thompson? Which one is that?
What?
I said Crewman Thompson. Which one is that?
He is one of the extras who has, I think, a couple lines.
Oh, see that rando blue shirt?
Good question, Chris.
Rando blue shirt.
The one who suddenly has some lines at the very end.
I think
pretty
that's
much.
him. Yeah, I think that's him. But what are we talking about in Equinox? Let's move on. So Equinox, holy shit. We open on the USS Equinox, a Nova-class starship. They're so cute.
So
Read our
we-
blog post. We have a blog post on Starfleet ships at sshppodcast.com. Check it out. I remember really liking Nova Class. And this ship is getting its ass handed to it by nucleogenic Slimers. Whoopsie! So yet again, we got the Voyager answering a distress call, and they come in and they save them from monsters. And we learn that the Equinox has also been pulled into the Delta Quadrant some number of years ago by the Caretaker. What a coincidence. They couldn't have thought of another reason to have somebody in the Delta Quadrant. But while Voyager has mostly been able to withstand enemies and uphold the Prime Directive-ish, so Janeway claims, the Equinox basically gets KO'd everywhere it goes, and its crew just don't give a fuck anymore. So we meet our crew. We meet Captain Ransom, who is barely sane. We meet First Officer Burke, who used to bang Torres quite a lot. We meet Ensign Gilmore, who is just leaking PTSD all over the place. Crewman Lessing, who is also a character, and the rest. There's
Here on Gilligan's Equinox.
Yes, there's very few of them left because they've been getting killed all over the place. I think at top of episode there's only 12 or something, but yeah, they're doing a great job. And something is immediately fishy about the Equinox crew, and we learned that they've been turning the Slimers into some kind of fuel, when they're not getting murdered to death by them. So Janeway confines the whole Equinox crew to quarters to think about what they did. However, there's also an Equinox EMH who trades places with our EMH, and he's now evil again! Evil EMHs all around! And he helps everybody escape. So the Equinox crew steals the Voyager's field generator, they kidnap Seven just for fun, and they leave the Voyager to get killed by aliens like fucking chumps. End part 1. Begin part 2. We're just gonna launch in because it's a two-parter and that's what we do. So the chumps are getting killed by aliens like they do. And Janeway is going full like Captain Ahab, wanting to hunt down Ransom. And Chakotay is there, trying to convince her that getting the Slimers to stop killing us all the fucking time should be the higher priority. And she says, no, Ransom is a bad guy, Chakotay. How do you not understand that this is the priority? Boo. Meanwhile, on Equinox, they're hiding in some kind of planet because Seven has knocked down their super-duper warp drive thing, and she's the only one who knows the codes. So Ransom turns off our EMH's ethical subroutines to torture them out of her, which was gross. But Janeway finds them in their little planet atmosphere. She kidnaps a couple crewmen, and she decides, I'm going to torture these guys. Torture all around. And she fires Chakotay for literally having any fucking morals at all. Typical Janeway move. Equinox gets away anyway. Janeway finally relents, no thanks to that no-good Chakotay, mind you, to go talk to the aliens. So we chat with the Ankari, who are these rhinoceros-y-looking people who I liked. And they put us in a group chat with the aliens. And all they really want to do is they want to kill the Equinox. We're like, fine, deal. Ransom, meanwhile, has been hallucinating 6. Oh, I mean 7. I don't know why I said 6. In his little beach scene Windows desktop thing.
Took me a second.
Aha! And his guilt finally leads him to relent, and that's when Burke decides to mutiny, because we forgot about him for a little while there. And oh no! He's got the, I called him the Equi-EMH. Equi-EMH?
Equi-EMH.
Yeah, Equi-EMH. He's been giving them all the intel from Voyager, and somewhere in the chaos, Gilmore, who I had also forgotten about, she helps Ransom kind of escape, but not really escape, because there's a lot going on in this episode. But anyway, he contacts with the Voyager to negotiate his surrender, and Janeway is like, urge to kill fading, rising, fading, gone.
Classic.
And she beams over who else is still alive, which is no longer Burke, who got himself aliened to death. And Ransom needs to stay on the Equinox to blow it up, just to rub it in Janeway's wounds a little bit. And now that that's all over, we've got all these new crew members to add, and we'll never see them again. Thanks, Voyager. The end.
Janeway basically says, we're putting you down in the shit shoveling room, so I'm not surprised we don't see them again.
I'm disappointed.
Shame on me.
What was his name? Not Lemuel.
Lemmings?
Lannister.
Lessing? Black guy?
It's funny you made that Six reference because he apparently shows up in Battlestar.
Oh yeah, he is a large character.
I mean, this whole episode is just Battlestar Galactica. Carl knows what I'm talking about.
The reason I asked Carl to be on.
I wondered about that. I appreciate that. Yeah,
without spoiling for Chris and Caitlin, but I think we can do it.
Yeah, he will be on season 2 of Battlestar Galactica. And
shameless plug.
He's also
you can plug it. You can plug it, Carl.
Plug it every time.
They deleted my shame routines.
Good.
He was also in. We covered on my show. What was it? Soldiers of the Empire.
Oh,
he was a Klingon.
He was. I wrote his name down. He was.
He was
Cornan.
the guy who was like Cornan.
Yeah.
He was the guy who like freaked out and started a fight in the galley.
Yeah, he was the younger guy.
Yeah. And here he's the opposite. He's like Mr. Serene.
I liked him a lot in this. It makes me really fucking wish that he ever goddamn came back as a character because I'm so frustrated.
Exactly. He, in particular, I think of the Equinox crew, he is the least well written. Not because, obviously that scene of him resisting torture is great, but it's also like we don't really know. The one I really do like this two-parter, but we do kind of it would do well if we could have more of their unique perspectives. Like we kind of get Gilmore's and no one else's. Like did Lessing break just because he was scared, or did he break because he was like, you know what, I'm reminded of how bad I am, about how bad what I've done is. We just don't know.
I know.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, and so the thing I find most interesting about this episode is that the Equinox crew, they're Starfleet. They don't start out as evil.
Right.
They're pushed to evil by their circumstances.
There. Yeah, and it's interesting. Voyager, and Ransom brings this up. It's like, Voyager has the luxury of having made it this far in the Delta Quadrant more or less unscathed.
Because it's a tougher ship.
Tougher ship.
It's a tiny, cute little science vessel.
Well, yeah, it's like Voyager not only has superior shields and weapons, it also has the best defense of all, plot armor.
Janeway.
Yeah.
So it's made it this far and really not gotten banged up too bad, whereas they're this little, basically Oberth 2.0.
Exactly what I was going to say. It's like this is the replacement for the Oberth, and it is treated as such.
Yeah, exactly. So it just gets fucking destroyed the minute it gets to the Delta Quadrant. So by the time they come across the Slimers, they're kind of like, oh, maybe this is a thing. And do I think that Janeway or a better captain in general would have maybe not gone that far? Probably. Ransom clearly isn't the best captain of all, but I can kind of see how they took that leap from, oh, we can exploit these animals and turn them into fuel because, hell, we do that on Earth all the fucking time, so why not?
Well, see, but ours have already been... have already been dead for millions of years.
Well, they're not just that, though. I mean, so maybe not fuel for our engines, but certainly fuel for our bodies.
Yes.
No, meat is bad in Star. I guess maybe it depends on the on which version of Star Trek. But I remember I believe meat is one of those things we were supposed to have evolved beyond.
We no longer enslave animals for food.
Right.
They're all voluntary now.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
Like those things from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yes, that thing.
We just all eat Pete Davidson.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me that to get this perspective, it's sort of like Bizarro Voyager.
Well, it's also it's Voyager, I mean, minus the massive ethical corruption, because I doubt they would have let that happen. But it's sort of part of the original idea, it's kind of been patched together with stuff they found over the course of their journeys and things like that. I mean, it's patched together, its bridge is part intrepid, part sovereign, I think.
Yeah, I think this is a kit bash between the Enterprise E bridge and the Voyager bridge.
Yeah, it is some excellent bridge chaos in this episode.
Mm.
The thing that I don't think that I would be interested to know is at what point did Ransom find out that the creatures were self-aware? Because it implies that they knew the entire time. And if that's the case, What's interesting, you're right. They are pushed to evil in a way, but I feel comfortable saying like I would not do that if I were in their shoes.
Yeah.
Like this is and Janeway, one of the things I love about the Janeway performance in this is like she gives no quarter. Like she has perfectly justified anger in that scene. This is like imagine if you found out there was a serial killer in like your archery club or something.
Mhm.
Like how dare you? And he's like, my crew, they were just following orders. And she's like, their loss.
Yeah, I love that. That was
Yes.
great. I mean, because I absolutely 100% agree on that. I love that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have mutinied, but then they would have just done it harder.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
That's
wondering though, like, so we know that he lost half of his crew right
In the
right at
first week,
start,
yeah.
in the first week. I wonder how many of those that were left tried to be like, no, we probably shouldn't torture these animals to get food because that's really horrible. And I wonder if there were any. I wonder if the ones that are left are the ones that were okay with it.
I think so. I mean, first of all, this is a cult situation waiting to happen. Like, without even like Ransom trying to make it that way. Like, you're the captain. Your job is to be Mr. Inspirational, Mr. Fix It. You got to be the the leader. Get everyone home, and like, don't think about this too hard. We won't go home if you think about this too hard.
Well, and it's also like, we always talk about the Voyager as a smaller ship, a scout ship, things like that. But like, Ransom, like we said, was the captain of an Oberth, effectively. Like, he's even more out of his realm than Janeway was supposed to have been,
Yes.
Like, the Intrepid's not really made for this, and her mission wasn't going to be something like this, but his was going to be even less like this. He was supposed to go to a planet, probably stay in orbit of it for months to a year to who knows how long, and then putter back to the nearest starbase. Like,
And say, look at these plants we found.
yeah, like, this is a guy who was like, yeah, we'll make you the head of a science ship, but dear God, we would never put you in charge of a real vessel with tough decisions.
Yeah. And I think
So-
you see that in the performance too. Like, he looks scared all the time. I believe he has PTSD. Like, I'm making that up in my head, but like,
Yeah, see it.
just look at like, he looks like if you touch him, he will just eat you.
Well, they say his normal tactic when a problem arises is to hide. Like when they review his file and they say, when there were Romulans, he went and hid in a nebula. When there were Klingons, he went and hid in a gas giant. Like, this is what he does because he does not have the tools.
Right.
Or perhaps the sanity sometimes. Or, the thing that makes a real captain of a bigger ship a captain of a bigger ship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, he's been given, one of the most explodable ships in the fleet. Of course I'm sure before he was given the Equinox, he maybe had an Oberth.
Who knows?
And they were like, just so you know, if this thing takes the slightest ding, it will go up like a Yugo.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's a science vessel, so it's not just like equipped in terms of weapons and shields and things like that, but also the crew. The crew that's on this ship is going to be primarily scientists.
Mhm.
And most,
You know?
there were a lot of blue shirts running around.
So, in terms of like, if they were to have to engage an enemy in battle, they're not trained enough probably to even know like the tactics that they would need to use to actually fight. So yeah, hiding makes the most sense.
Yeah. And it's funny when you think, this just occurred to me now, but like, for him, a guy who was sort of a lifelong scientist being given command of a science vessel, that makes sense. That's a reward. Meanwhile, though, his first officer sounds like was a borderline washout,
Yeah.
It's like, this is where we stick the command candidates who just squeaked by, so we don't want to put them on a real ship.
Yeah,
Don't keep an
that's
eye
the
on the
thing.
scientists.
That guy seems like a real scumbag. Like I don't think he doesn't seem like someone who was driven to be a scumbag by circumstances. He just seems like he was always kind of a scumbag, and the circumstances just brought it out.
Now we've learned that B'Elanna traded way up.
Oh yeah, big time. But it also like teenage B'Elanna does not sound like a great person. Like I feel like B'Elanna has matured.
Sure. Well, I do
teenage
think
anyone's
Max
a schmuck.
looks like a former bad boy. I mean, you can see it.
Yeah, like, him and Tom are definitely cut from similar cloth.
Yeah. It actually does put Tom in a new light, doesn't it? Like you sort of wonder, like, why would she like this guy? And it's like, oh, he has a lot of the qualities, but he's not like ruthless and vicious.
Yeah. Also doesn't call her a sandwich.
Yeah.
Call her sandwich.
Although I did kind of find that endearing.
Oh, did you? I found it annoying.
Oh,
I mean, it's a terrible nickname, but I laughed my ass off. It made me think of that thing that was going around the internet a while ago, where this woman she went onto Reddit and was like, my boyfriend has been trying to come up with an endearing nickname for him, and they have all been terrible. And for some reason, he has taken to calling me Tony Pizza. And it seems to have stuck. I don't even like pizza that much.
I don't want to be Tony Pizza.
What do I do?
Those involuntary nicknames are the worst.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I'll say about it is I don't like it in terms of a nickname for B'Elanna. I find it endearing that somebody else thought it was a good nickname. And
Like in the writing staff or in world in the show?
In world.
Oh, God.
And that, like, the reaction that Tom has to learning it. And he's just like, that is the stupidest nickname I've ever heard. Like, you can tell that that's his thought process when he's like, BLT, really?
That's the stupidest one until Harry calls him Turkey Platter.
Yes, I love that. I gotta say that was the moment when he said turkey platter. That was the moment that I was convinced that he was ready to take command. I wanted
Give him a kick for that.
The previous episode, it was okay. You know, he just sort of just calmly re-explained stuff. But coming up with turkey platter on the moment, I wanted Janeway to come in and go, "That was your final test. And you passed, Lieutenant."
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
How good at fucking is that guy, though? That younger B'Elanna did not instantly break his neck the first time he called her BLT.
It's a mystery. I mean, she must have liked him.
Right?
Weird.
And she lets him keep doing it. And I'd like to point out, when he's kind of making a pass at her later on in the engine room, she's just it's been so long, not I'm with Tom now.
Yeah.
It takes them like 3 excuses to even get to Tom
And
Paris.
he's the one that brings it
Yeah,
up.
he mentions it. Yeah, remember Tom? And she's like, oh yeah, that guy.
Well, I think that's so that kind of, there's another level here though that scene kind of reveals about this guy is that he's kind of charming, or at least not to us, but to people in universe, he's charming and charismatic enough that, like, yeah, he can kind of win you over or win B'Elanna over. And if we believe that B'Elanna could be potentially won over by this guy, what does that say about the crew of the Equinox, who is also now, like, a bunch of people get killed following this guy?
Has he kind of been, like, pulling the strings the whole time?
I wonder. Like, I wonder how much, like, because I don't, like, Ransom could very well be a pushover.
He seems it.
Yeah.
You know, even when we see them on the planet, like the flashback where they first find out about the Slimers, like, it's Max who's got his tricorder out and is like,
we could use these things.
That really does kind of shift a lot about this episode. If you assume he's been kind of just worm-tonguing in Ransom's ear this whole time.
Yeah, it's good. I like the scene where they're about to figure out the life forms in astrophysics. Ransom clams up, but it's Max who says, "You know what you could do? We could create this thing that I secretly know we already created, and maybe that would hold it. We could examine it."
Yeah. I wish I'd thought of this earlier, because that really just shifts so much of the understanding of this.
My big question, like, I sort of spent part 2 waiting for Max to do the mutiny, and it's over in like 30 seconds.
It's also very late.
It's very late, and I was like, why would they follow him? They've been following Ransom, and there's
Ransom's
this big
clearly
tasty
out of
ship
it
that has more food. Yeah. And I gotta imagine it's just like they're shocked. Like at this, a lot of them are still just like doing whatever the loudest person in the room tells them to do.
Yeah, like they've been out, like we can only assume they've been out in the Delta Quadrant longer than the Voyager, because if it was the caretaker that dragged them in, it must have been earlier.
Yeah.
So they've been through a lot.
Yeah.
And I think at this point it becomes, because, I also wonder, like, just join the Voyager. You'll get home when you get home. You'll have supplies and food and a hot shower, which sounds real nice, guys.
Yeah.
And their thought is, no, it's us against the world, and we're kind of this unit.
But they know that once Janeway finds out about the Slimers, she's going to broast them. She's not going to give them she's not going to trust them. And,
all the more reason to leave the ship behind and just go with Voyager, because then they won't find out, You know,
it's Gilmore. Gilmore was all about it. She was ready to jump ship, spill the beans, and then
marry
she found out
Chakotay and have all his babies.
Yeah, she was so into him so quickly. But then fucking Naomi Wildman showed up, and she's like, oh, there's a gross kid on board. Never mind.
So basically exactly what Ames or I would have done.
Yeah,
which is so funny. Because I actually thought the quick Naomi scene was actually a good use of Naomi. Which I will almost never say.
Brief. It was brief, you know.
Yeah, it was a fine scene. I just wanted to say, she was like, oh, ew.
Yeah, I think maybe a ballsier move going back to the mutiny would have been if, I can't remember his last name because they called him Max throughout the episode. But Burke. I'm going to keep calling him Max.
That's fine.
Would be if Max had just shot Ransom.
Ooh.
As part of the mutiny, and then basically turned the phaser to everybody else. Like, anybody else? I'm taking command. Anybody else have a problem with this? And
oh, geez.
And then you kind of lose that redemption. I mean, you get the redemption because he tries to turn the ship back over, but you don't have that like last moment with him, at the end, which is kind of nice. But then that puts it on the can't remember her name, Gilmore. That kind of puts it on Gilmore to
unhappy Gilmore.
Sorry.
So now Gilmore has to be the one on her own.
Yeah, and then she can be more of a character, because literally at the end of part 2, when she suddenly stands up and says, I'm actually with you, Ransom, I'm like, I forgot you were a character.
Right.
Yeah. I think the one thing we get out of, which I did appreciate, out of not killing Ransom during the mutiny, is the moment on Voyager's bridge where Janeway realized that she went too far.
That's good.
Very belatedly.
And like everyone's just kind of like, when she's like, oh yeah, we'll totally take you back over here, Ransom. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem with that. And like everyone on the bridge just kind of looks at Janeway like, you promised him to the fucking aliens, right?
She promised the ship to the aliens.
Yeah, but she knows. She knows what she did. The aliens weren't going to let him go.
So, since we're getting there, what the fuck was up with Janeway in part 2?
I was here for it. I was all right.
Yeah, that's true. I do love all of the Mulgrew acting and all of the Chakotay trying real hard to be moral about it.
But I like, what the fuck? She went from 0 to psychopath in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I think it's because she felt a personal betrayal.
No, I know. It's kind of like with Cisco and Eddington. You betrayed the uniform.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically her Eddington at this point.
Yeah,
but it's even worse than Eddington, because he was not. I'm sure he killed some guys, but like he wasn't. What Ransom does is just so ugly. And this is, whatever you want to say about the Prime Directive, like this is literally the organization where if you accidentally screw up an alien life, you must lay down your own life rather than, non-interference. And he broke it in the biggest way.
No, he cites this other rule that says, if your ship is in danger, you can do whatever, you can use any justifiable means, is the quote.
I love that. Yeah, justifiable.
He has a very different definition of what that means than Janeway.
Doing some heavy lifting, the word justifiable.
Yeah,
it is.
Justifiable is such a mealy-mouthed word in that regulation.
Yeah, it's a tough word. Because anyone can interpret it however the fuck they want.
But that's the thing with Eddington, is like Eddington was spread out over a couple of episodes. They had to put all that into one, and it just made her feel like her escalation was just too quick. And it really was just like, had we seen this happening over the course of a while, I'd get it. But this is like, fucking within the space of 35 minutes, she's locking what's-his-name in a room and waterboarding with an alien.
Lessing.
See, well, here's the thing, though. Like, I buy it because, all right, in part 1 is when we find out about the alien torture and when she confronts Ransom about that, right? That was still part 1? Yeah, because they escaped at the end of part 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, at that point, she's pissed off. At that point, she's already at a 5. That's when she says their loss and all that shit. And then Ransom escapes, steals the Voyager's special shield machine, and then leaves them to die, essentially. Leaves them to fend for themselves and runs off. And also kidnaps Janeway's bestie, 7 of 9. And unbeknownst to Janeway, also steals their doctor. And they
never realize that ever in the show.
No. So I think I buy, given that's where we are, that she just went from a 5, which she already was at, up to an 11 on the I want to fucking kill this guy and anyone who's ever met him level.
Yeah, I want to give you guys a little bit of backstory on these episodes because this is our season 5 finale, season 6 premiere, and what happens between those 2 episodes? Deep Space Nine ends.
Oh.
So we're in season 6. We're the only Star Trek happening right now for the first time since fucking TNG. And we take on our good friend Ronald D. Moore, which I know our good friend Carl, who is here today, is a big fan of Ronald D. Moore, as proven by his Battle Space Nine podcast.
Woot.
Woot. We love a Ronald D. Moore around here. However, Ronald D. Moore fucking hated Voyager. We'll discuss this next week when we actually have some Ronald D. Moore episodes that we're going to talk about. So, be looking forward to that. But he walks into Voyager room for this episode and basically says, wow, I'm not going to last on this show. Spoilers, he doesn't. He fucking quits after a week. And he says, all right, guys, I've seen part 1 because that happened while I was still on Deep Space Nine. I've watched part 1. What were you guys doing with it? And their answer was, we don't know.
Would they stop
it.
doing that?
And Ronald D. Moore flips every table in the room, which I don't blame him because Jesus fucking Christ. And they say, okay, well, what can we try to do to figure out where this episode is going? And they said, okay, well, what we kind of want to do is we want to make Janeway and Ransom flip. And Janeway will become more Ransom-like, and Ransom will become more Janeway-like, just in terms of what ethics they're willing to part with, and what ethics they're willing to reabsorb. Urge to kill, fading, all that thing. So they do that, and Ronald D. Moore, there's a whole essay that I meant to read, but wherever it got uploaded online, didn't use paragraph breaks, and it's unfucking readable. So I might listen to it as an audio track later. But it's just Ronald Moore just ranting about this episode and how they set themselves up for failure and how they never capitalize on all these things they were supposed to capitalize on. And it's not even a bad episode. I enjoy Equinox, but I think all of the things that they could have capitalized on, bringing on the fucking crew and never using them again, son of a bitch,
right,
is just stuff I can see Ronald D. Moore, after getting away with whatever the fuck he wanted in Deep Space Nine, to suddenly be back and saying oh, by the way, the producers watch our every move on this show and we can't get away with anything.
Because of him, basically.
Yeah.
Because they realized what
Dirty
happened
guys.
when they let Deep Space Nine run itself.
Whoopsie. Yeah, and I guess he and his friend Braga were on the outs with each other for a while, and eventually they made up in all this. But it's man, you guys were tight, and you guys, everyone on the Voyager writing staff had been friends with them before, and now it's nope, we don't care
funny.
anymore.
Ronald Moore and Brandon Braga are two sides of a coin, because they're both very good writers, and they've both written really great Star Trek episodes.
And they're kind of cute.
But they take the show in such different directions, and they complement each other in certain ways, but also I could see them clashing artistically a lot.
It's like John and Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a way for us to somehow blame Rick Berman for driving a wedge between them? Great, fuck Rick Berman. Yeah.
Well, what's really interesting, I had no idea that Ronald D. Moore really had anything to do with this episode, and not to spoil Battlestar Galactica, but
a taste for people who are listening to Battle Space Nine with Carl.
I would say, one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best arcs of that show is almost directly cribbed, I would say, from this
Extremely,
episode.
Yeah, the episode Pegasus. And any subsequent episodes dealing with that, because
and
Battle Space Nine is more serial.
Battlespace 9 is
It
Carl's
is, yeah.
podcast.
Damn it! Every time I'm going to get this wrong. Then.
But yeah. Well, then there's also Razor, which is sort of the prequel.
There's a long tradition of science fiction writers cribbing their own material. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency takes enormous...
That's a Philip K. Dick? Not Philip K. Dick.
No, that's
Douglas Adams.
Douglas Adams. Takes huge chunks from a Doctor Who serial he wrote in the 70s.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
Like, I remember the first time I finally read it, I was like, wait a minute, this is City of Death!
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to read the Lord of the Rings, big ripoff from The Hobbit.
Jesus
I know.
Christ, Jake.
What the fuck?
Man.
I thought you were going to say if you ever get a chance to read The Lord of the Rings, don't.
Oh, a lot of people love it.
Oh, well, a lot of people like Elvis.
A lot of people have a lot more time on their hands and patience. But one thing I was going to bring up, because one thing, and this isn't spoiling much of the Pegasus episode in Battlestar Galactica.
I got confused. I was like, what? That was TNG. What's going on?
No, yep, it's silliness abounds. One thing that he does, only the mildest spoiler, is the captain of the other ship ends up outranking Adama, our main character on Battlestar. And in this episode, we meet Ransom, and Janeway says, I happened to look up, because of course I did, who has the seniority here, and it me, bitch. And I wonder, like, what would have been the big difference if Ransom were an admiral or something? Or if Ransom somehow could say, like, I have the seniority for X reason.
And that's a perfect example of what Ronald D. Moore does and is known for.
He ups the stakes, yeah.
You know, Kane, in that episode, the other Admiral Kane is played by Michelle Forbes.
Love her.
Who's awesome.
Why do I know that name?
Ensign Rowe.
Ensign Rowe.
Oh, right, thank you.
And, like, from the moment, like, she steps onto the Galactica's deck and she goes, you know, she does not have a ragtag fleet. She's just a ship. But she sees the Battlestar crew and she goes, welcome back to the Colonial Fleet. And we putting it in our mind like, oh, right, because she outranks him, she gets to decide, or so she thinks, what the Colonial Fleet is. And she's going to say, like, there are more of you guys around, but I'm the one in charge because of the rank. And it's a nice bit of awkward adult drama.
Yeah, dick waving.
Is the president not there?
Well, that's the thing. Kane's not into the president.
Yeah,
Kane's
exactly.
Like,
the Secretary of Education is there.
Idiots.
Yeah. So it's so good. But I have also come to realize, though, like, for better or worse, Voyager is at its best when it's basically like a more modern version of TOS. Like, whatever they thought they were going to do, they stopped. And, like, the reason, like, one of the things I love about this episode is that I just love the character of Ransom doing these vicious things. And then when he's not doing them, he slinks off and, like, stares into his screensaver for, like, hours on end. Like, that, I feel that. That's like a man who knows he's sold his soul.
So it's funny, because I remember when I was first watching this, because they had mentioned the little poor man's holodeck in the first episode, but I don't think we really saw it much, if at all.
No, not in the first episode, I don't think.
But then
I was envisioning like a VR set or something.
I was thinking it was like one of those, like a viewfinder, you know?
Yeah, okay.
Cha-chin.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, the Grand Canyon. Cha-chin. Oh, the beach.
The big orange switch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh, I really wish they'd seeded the idea that he's, like, always using this thing in the first episode, because it feels like it comes a little out of nowhere. It makes sense now, because they hadn't had the second episode planned.
Yeah, my last note is literally, I wish they'd established this beach thing in part 1, but they didn't, I'm sure they didn't think of it a season ago.
No. Yeah. But what I did do like, now that we've talked about this, and now I've got my new headcanon and reinterpretation, that really it's all been Max this whole time.
He made it the game from the episode, the game.
No, well, yes, that's true. That's actually when she described it, I was like, the game? But, like, just the idea that Ransom is actually this sort of weak figurehead. Like, it wasn't really a mutiny under this interpretation. It was everyone already kind of knew Max was in charge. He was just making it official, basically.
Making the subtext text.
Yeah. And, like, especially because, like, which one of you pointed it out, that, like, again, it was Max who was scanning the thing, like,
Stroke my beard thusly.
Yeah, yes.
We should all be held responsible for this.
Yeah. So, like, just the idea that he actually spent most of his time sitting around fretting, and it was like, you know, again, going back to the worm tongue thing I said, like, fucking Janeway bursts in all Gandalf the White, like, smacking him in the chest with a pole. And he's like, oh shit, I have been a dickhead. Which, again, I felt like his turn felt a little quick, but in this new interpretation that you've helped me come to, it makes perfect sense, because it was really Max the whole time.
His turn is also interesting because it's right after, and I only read this in a book and was able to understand it from this, so maybe it wasn't as clear as I thought. After he watches the singing scene with EMH and Seven singing on the fucking torture bed, yikes.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
Real fucked up.
I hated that.
And the effect that it has on Ransom is he realizes, oh, fuck, she's a person. I can't deal with this. And he goes into his screensaver. And that's when he sees her, because it's the guilt eating him alive. And yes, I understand your metaphor, show, but it's still nice to see.
Also, too, it was Max who said something about fuel, and he goes, oh, is that the metaphor we're using
That
now?
was a good line.
Yeah.
It is.
It's like,
even though, I mean, he has been calling it a compound, so I don't know what he thinks he's better.
well, you know,
But you're right. I mean, it's a welcome. So this is the rare two-parter, I think, where part 2 is notably better than part 1. Not to ding part 1, but I am just kind of waiting for the tables to turn that whole episode. But like you get it makes. I didn't know that this was Ronald D. Moore's like 3 days on the job week, but it makes sense. Someone was definitely trying to raise the stakes. Raise the standards of the raid.
Yeah, like, it definitely feels like I kind of wish he'd been there for the first part, because it probably would have been a bit more...
Yeah, but he was busy doing the finale of Deep Space Nine for sure.
Throwing Dukat into a cave.
Yay!
Remembering to finish up that storyline in the last 2.5 minutes of the show. Like, oh shit, remember over here? Like, it wasn't just like a post-credit scene.
Yeah, it's actually it's such a shame that he's not going to stick around on Voyager. We'll see the 2 episodes he had his fingers really in next week, and we'll see we'll see if I eat my words. But I think he could have brought a lot of interesting stuff to Voyager, except he just decided to take his ball and go home.
Yeah. Weirdly, one of the episodes has a villain called Bick Rurman. Strange. I will say, though, when it was weird to me, like, I feel like you had to do more than just delete the EMH's ethical subroutines,
right?
To
yeah,
make him loyal
to.
It's like, I mean, all right, you've gotten rid of my ethics, but
the logic is still there.
Yeah, like, I still am not loyal to your side.
Yeah, you're not my captain.
Yeah, you think he would be. Yeah, you think he would be furiously like the exact thing as the evil EMH, but loyal to Janeway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
like,
good.
it's like-
Now I don't have the ethical programs to not kill Ransom.
Right, yeah, that's
Yay!
right. It's like, oh, you switch off my ethical subroutines. Grabs a scalpel, jams into his throat 1,000 times.
Yeah, and they
EMH
could have fixed
saves
that
the
with
day.
like they could have fixed it with like one line that say, "I deleted your ethical subroutines," and also linked you to our ship instead.
Yeah, something. Also, I really hope they remember to put those back in.
Nope.
Nah.
Because he just shows up at the end and is a good guy now, and it's just like...
Well, that's that line. He's like, G7, maybe I should put up my security programs a little bit more.
Yes, please.
Why weren't those there to begin with?
I don't know.
Exactly.
And I don't think he is a good guy yet in that final scene when he deletes the EMH, because I don't think your ethical subroutines would allow you to delete a sentient program.
True. That was kind of...
Yeah.
Kind of funny, though. Evil MH is monologuing. Just delete this asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the equivalent of Indiana Jones pulling out the pistol.
Yeah.
I love that whole plot because I really think they should have spent some more time on it as well. But like,
It should have been a 4-parter.
The Doctor has this hubris, like, because of course he calls up the Equinox EMH, and it never crosses his mind, maybe this guy would be evil too. Maybe they fucked with him. Maybe this guy was actually in on the medical. No, that wouldn't happen. I trust myself too much for that to happen. And he gets what he deserves, which is like automatically like, say, what's that thing you're wearing? Oh, it allows me to travel. Okay, well, they deleted my ethical subroutines. Whap. And it's like, I always kind of don't like AIs talking to each other because it's kind of like the original Cylons on Battlestar. It's like they could be talking faster than that just about themselves. But they just do it fast enough that it works. And I just love, the Doctor's hubris is always going to make him make the wrong decision.
Yeah.
situation.
Also, too, he's like, I don't like the idea. You just flick a switch and turn me into Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
Dude, do you remember that episode where you were Mr. Hyde?
That's the joke!
Like, you can't act like this is a shock. You did it to yourself once, you dumb prick. I did like her needling him about it being off key, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool.
There's a nice little, like, yeah, we're cool moments, but also, kind of fuck you a little.
Yeah, and I understand their cool moment because Seven is a logical person. She understands that wasn't really you. That was a you through a filter that doesn't actually like normally exist. What did you guys think of the final Chakotay Janeway scene when it's like are we cool? You could have mutinied. He's like, I should have, but I didn't because I was pushover.
I appreciated that it was a little awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Because it should have been.
Yes.
But also, Janeway, croutons are part of a salad. If he's replicating the salad, there should be. If there aren't croutons in it, he fucked up the salad. Maybe
that's how bad she
before.
feels. She's like, I'm bad. I've been a bad captain. I only deserve to bring croutons.
No,
And
see,
frankly,
it was actually a dig. It was a dig because the last time they had a party, Chakotay volunteered to bring a salad and didn't put croutons on it, and everyone hated it.
I mean, here's the thing. I would totally love, like, it's the fattest thing ever, but I would totally love just like, there's a whole extra I'm just going to have a bowl of croutons.
I would do that.
Because there's so many.
With some cheese and some eggs.
No, I would that's a whole separate bowl.
Just the croutons? No.
A bowl of croutons,
that's just
chips.
eating...
That's
like,
just stale bread, my dude.
that's just eating some bread. That's just eating crackers at that point.
Yeah, really nice puffy ones.
Chris doesn't get a lot of carbs these days, so this is what he's been reduced to. You know what sounds really exciting? A bowl of croutons.
Oh god, that's exactly what it is.
Oh my god.
I really liked Janeway and Chakotay in this. I think that last scene's excellent.
Yeah, right back on track.
Because the thing is, if you kind of break it down, like, obviously Chakotay is worried about the immediate threat, and he's
and also
correct.
Janeway's soul.
But Janeway's soul. But Janeway also, she's looking at the big picture too. Like, she knows these aliens are not going to let up until ransom is stopped.
I don't think that's why she does it.
I think that's one reason she does it.
Not the primary reason.
No. But she has enough of a basis to doing it, I think, that it becomes like a good, legitimate clash between them. And it's kind of like the Scorpion plotline. Like they both would have operated better if they had kind of been on the same page a little bit more. But I do think, even Chakotay, like, after the torture, and I guess for the record, I should say, I think I think the torture scene is mutinyable.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Why do
but I think handing him over to the aliens is justifiable. I don't know. What do you all think?
So I was thinking about it, like, I don't even think it's technically mutinyable at that point. I think there's probably a regulation that says if your captain does this, they are no longer fit for duty. You are in charge.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a mutiny. That's you are no longer fit for command according to Rule 8, subsection 12 or something.
Yeah.
The thing at the end, though, I was thinking about that, because it's like, yeah, on the one hand, they're just going to kill him, but on the other hand, how many episodes have we had where it's been like, someone's been accused of a crime against another race, and it's like, well, it has to fall into their judicial system, and this kind of feels like, it's that sort of, like...
Yeah.
Based on the precedent, she's supposed to hand him over to them.
Exactly. And it's a combat situation, too. Like, how many resources is she going to use protecting these assholes?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially one that has committed so huge a crime.
Yeah. When they're guilty as sin and like, admit that they're guilty as sin. I don't think that she is required to, I love that scene where like Tuvok is trying to be the mediator and he was like, no, we won't kill them. They will lose their freedom.
Yeah, we'll put them in the brig.
That's not going to work. They need blood vengeance.
Yeah.
Or something.
But yeah, like I just, there's been so many, the time they had to go through the deeply corrupt Cardassian legal system to free O'Brien.
Oh, yeah.
The time they had to, let Wesley get judged by the fucking short pants race or whatever they were called there.
Yeah, that's what they were called.
Injustice. It's like...
Short everything race.
This is the guy we're not going to hand over to the people who he has wronged.
Right. Yeah, I think the only difference is, in those cases... like Wesley and O'Brien were already in custody.
True.
This is kind of like, do we extradite our guy
Right.
to the place that's going to execute him?
If he's doing horrible, like, experimentation on living beings for the sake of gasoline, yes, we do.
Exactly.
Every time.
And this is kind of what's great about Janeway is she gets, even when she goes wild, and this show is good at kind of questioning like whether someone like in Janeway's position would go too far from time to time. And I think that like even if like she ultimately arrives at the correct decision, which is, there's no lawyers I can consult. There's no due process.
No ship's jag.
I was going to say,
No ship's jag.
You got
I
Neelix.
think Janeway goes too far. I don't think she goes too far enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Futurama. We got it in.
And Chakotay, I think, must at least acknowledge that like she was thinking about the macro the whole time, and he was sort of thinking about the micro.
Yeah, which is his job.
Which is his job. And, don't forget, he was also the one who said, let's bring the aliens into this situation. Let's get the experts.
Yeah,
and that was a crucial idea. That would they would not have survived without.
Yeah,
so it's, two good people clashing, but like the best of their instincts.
Yeah.
But for me, though, I was definitely just like, I'm with the commander on this one.
Yeah, he had a
And
good
Tuvok.
scene early in part 2 where they try really quick. They're like, Harry Kim, play back some squeaking noises when these things are here next. And they do, and it doesn't work. And then Chakotay says, okay, next time, weapons down. And Janeway says, fucking no!
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, weapons down is the most Chakotay thing I have ever seen him do.
Yep.
Because it's the moral thing. It's the I
Yeah.
want to communicate with these people thing that he's always doing.
Yes.
Well, for
David-
him, the first contact is weapons down and trousers down.
Yes.
Let's not forget.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was
true.
about to say.
Is that what you were going to say? I'm sorry.
What I was going to say was like, oh, come on, Captain. You said I had to keep my clothes on. Can we at least put our guns down?
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of the aliens, though, I read a funny note that Braga's instruction to the visual effects team was, I want the creatures to be like fucking nightmare fuel. I want them to be the things of your nightmares. And the
so
first time I
cute.
see one, I was like, oh, it's adorable.
It was really
Yeah.
cute until we got that close up of its gnarly teeth.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah,
little
it's cute when
creepy.
when we see them hanging out with their friends.
The
Yeah,
rhinoceros.
because they're
Flappy
like
arms.
dancing around, like, yeah, bitch, I fly, I'm cute.
I
That's
thought
because they're friends.
the desiccated one we saw in the first episode, its silhouette, because it was, not quite final design and it was all shrunk up, it vaguely looked like Murph.
Oh, no.
God, yeah.
Like, you just
Chris
had a
goes,
blobby
oh god,
nose.
it's Murph! And I was
Mouth.
like, oh no! Finally discovered what type of creature Murph is, but you would think that Janeway, of all people, would recognize him.
Well, no, she's not seen their earlier forms yet. That's going to be the big
That's
reveal in season 3, too.
Yay.
That would honestly be amazing. I mean, I know it's not going to happen, but that would be so great.
It does look like a terrible way to die, for this thing to pass through your face and instantly desiccate you.
Yeah.
I think the little mummies were just stuff they borrowed from the set of the 1999 Mummy film. Looked a lot like the guys after Imhotep ate them.
Oh.
Does look very 90s, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and like the CG on the things wasn't great, but I think it looked okay
Yeah, again,
for the time.
For the
90s
time, for the
TV.
budget.
Maybe that's why they were still so cute, because they didn't quite have the capacity to like make things look real gnarly yet.
There was like a little bit of like the xenomorph from Alien to them,
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
especially in the closer ups.
Mm.
But that little guy's cute too. We love that little guy. So.
But you know what? This is literally, the Phantom Menace was released this year, right?
Oh snap!
So
Yeah, that's
the
99.
level. So that's the level of effects we're dealing. Actually, less because this probably had less money than.
Oh, way
Much.
less. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
show.
And time. Less time.
So I
Yeah.
think it makes sense. I mean, you could never like you still didn't even have the reference points. I would imagine.
And even for all that it's infamous for leaning heavily on CG, even Phantom Menace actually did use a surprising amount of practical effects.
That's true.
You could fool me.
Yeah, no, like a lot of there's a lot of
You never saw Papa Yoda.
oh god.
Oh,
But there's like I've seen whole things about how like a lot of stuff that people just assumed was CG as well was actually completely practical.
And Lucas is still complaining about that. He's like, I had to use some practical stuff. I almost had it, but
but I couldn't wait for the
There's a
effects to be
compromise.
better.
yeah.
Yeah, he needed a Paul or a Braga or something all sort of counterbalance him.
Yep.
Oh, one small mention that I noticed is that they say that Ransom was the one who made first contact with the Euridians. And you'll remember we met a bunch of Euridians throughout Deep Space Nine. One of them was James Cromwell.
Oh, those guys. Okay.
Oh, the one that gets stuck with the bomb thing with Quark that time?
No, I don't know what. That's a different James Cromwell, though.
Oh, but that was James Cromwell, right? Okay.
That wasn't. Yeah, we did see a bunch of James Cromwell.
This was this the one that brought Worf to that planet of Klingon Romulan people?
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
In Birthright.
Yeah, and apparently they were thought to have been extinct, I guess.
Strange.
By even the Borg.
Because these guys were in the Delta Quadrant trying to make them into fucking fuel before they met these other aliens. That's why.
So how big is Ransom's crew, really?
70 people originally, because he said they had 39 and he'd lost half.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a fucking...
Between 70 and 80.
Yeah, because by the end it seems like there's 6.
Yeah, no, there was like no one left at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this ship started out with its full complement, half of Voyager's full complement, and then they lost most of them by the time we meet them.
Right. And then it seems like he didn't get everyone off either.
No.
Well, some people stuck with Max, right?
Right.
So.
You got everyone worth getting. So that's why it's like, so that's why by the end, like his crew fits on a jury. Like,
yeah.
Like we've only got a handful of people. Because you were mentioning, I feel like there's a lot of crew members who we see for like 2 seconds and then never see again. And that's just TV. But I guess it does make sense. Like you just sort of, this is basically a lifeboat's worth of people.
Essentially. Max, the crazy fucker, is like, we're just gonna pile into a shuttle then. It's like,
yeah,
Max, you've lost.
Yes.
Like, just give it up, you dumb fucker. I'm glad you're dead.
Well, someone makes another comment early in episode 1. I think when Ransom is still like half dazed and Janeway brings him out of it. He says, "Oh man, humans in the Delta Quadrant. I didn't realize that was a thing." And Janeway has some retort to that. And I wanted to be like, "Let me tell you about Amelia Earhart."
Oh yeah. Jesus
there's
Christ.
surprisingly a lot of humans in the Delta Quadrant.
There was that whole bunch that were unborged by Chakotay's girlfriend.
Chakotay's friend.
There's actually way more than you'd expect.
Too many.
I mean,
7.
the Amelia Earhart planet has like a full society of humans on it.
Full of beautiful cities we never see, but trust us, they're beautiful.
Yes.
That fucking episode.
We have the best cities. Beautiful cities.
Believe me.
Any other thoughts or things before we move to the wrap?
Not nearly enough mutiny. That was my final note.
Is it the poke rap? Is it the ninja rap?
What?
The poke
Do
rap.
the Bartman?
Do the Bartman. Okay, everybody, we're going to do the Bartman now.
Are we going to do the Mario?
Oh, no.
You put your hands on your hips when you dip.
Are we doing
all
the time warp again?
I have to fucking... So the problem is, I had no problem coming up with 3 I hated.
Really?
But I've got 5 I like, so I have to call an audible.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same. Someone else go first.
Yeah, well, I got
season.
Yeah, it was a great season. I ended up with 4 on both the tops and the bottoms, and I'll start then.
Okay, so we make the rules. Do whatever the fuck you
are we
want.
going to start bottom or
No, we're
tops?
starting. We start with tops in Voyager.
All right, sounds good.
Because I'm in charge.
Yeah,
all right,
he's
so
in charge.
these
You've
are my
been
tops.
Janeway'd.
These are my tops in no particular order. I'll give all 4.
No, you can't give 4.
I'm going to give 4.
Yes, he can.
Only 3 are making the blog.
That's fine because you can. Well, okay.
You gotta figure out which 3 are making the blog and which is the honorable mention.
All right, fine. I only have 3 of each. I'll go first.
Great.
Go for it.
Fine.
Okay, so we tops first, you said. Probably sort of in this order. Third, then second, then first. I really liked 30 Days.
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't know if it's like even really that great of an episode, but I kind of love like Tom being a naughty little boy but doing it for the environment.
Yeah, you see why Torres likes him.
It speaks to me as a child of the 90s whose favorite films were things like, Fern Gully and, Once Upon a Forest and all that hippie shit. Counterpoint.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you like about Counterpoint?
Isn't that the one where we got the double blind guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just liked that. I liked How we weren't sure if
Janeway
we could
playing
trust him or not, and Janeway's playing him, and he's playing Janeway, but Janeway knows that he's playing Janeway, and I don't know. I liked it. Plus, he was handsome. And then, so, second place. Second place for handsome. Anyway, and my favorite was Nothing Human.
Oh, that's another good one.
So that was a great fucking episode, and I love the question of, like, well, not that it's really a question, they're just kind of like, well, but he's a Nazi. Yeah, but look all the great science he did. But it's like, yeah.
And look how handsome.
Yeah, he was also handsome, I forgot that. What a handsome Nazi, she said. Not for the first time about a Cardassian.
Yep, that's what they do.
But anyway, I just thought it was a really great episode. And I liked watching the Doctor struggling with the ethics and whatever, so... Do you want my bottom now as well, or do you guys do?
No,
let's all get our tops done first, and then we'll torture ourselves with the bottoms.
All right.
I'm gonna go next.
Okay. Have you whittled it down to 3?
I have. Number 3, Bride of Chaotica.
Of course, it needs to be on there
by
what
law.
A great episode, yeah.
Number 2, Latent Image.
Mm-hmm.
Which one's that? The one where
Doc finds out they scrambled his memories.
Yeah, that's a great episode.
Yep. I will say to you, Counterpoint almost made my list.
Oh, thank you.
And Betraying My Earlier Self.
Wow.
And even still kind of despising it, even though it's so good.
Time 0.
Course
I know
Oblivion.
what it is. Yep.
Course Oblivion. It makes me feel horrible, but that's its point, and it does it so well, and I fucking hate it, but I cannot deny that it's a really, really excellent piece of television.
That's a good reason. I like that.
Which one is this?
The Silverbloods don't realize they're the Silverbloods and they kill themselves.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah, that is good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically
they just fall
like
apart.
What happens when the Voyager crew doesn't have plot armor.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
this.
It's like it's the episode that I was reminded of one time for like a Christmas or a birthday or something. Somebody gave me an erector set. Remember those? It was like little metal toys.
Connects.
No, like the erector sets were like metal
an actual erector set. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually had little like
screws
bolts.
and things.
Yeah, I had
and
one.
like it was a car, and I made the car, and I want to say it was like it maybe even had a battery, but it was self-propelled in some way. It might have been like a pullback thing.
Ooh,
I don't know. But anyway, I built it. I was very proud of myself, and then I started moving, and it was just like in a cartoon. It was moving very slowly, and as it was moving, little bits were like popping out of it, and like it went about 5 feet and then completely disintegrated into its constituent parts.
Oh,
wow.
poor
That's a good analogy, Jake.
Jake. It is.
I was at a child's birthday party where someone called an erector set an erection set, and we all had a good laugh.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure that happens every year.
Yeah. Well,
Only once to me.
What were your honorable mentions, Chris?
the only oh, you mean the ones that Delta didn't make the list?
You said you had 5, so.
Yeah, I'd had Counterpoint and Relativity.
Mm-hmm.
Both didn't quite make it.
Well, I'll start
Really
with
good
mine
season.
then. Because mine, like, the only one that I am sure of is on the list is Relativity, because I fucking love that episode. Because time travel and Ames, fucking, you got a winner right there. So Relativity, tippity top of the list. Making a quick judgment call on the rest. I'm going to say somewhere in there, I'm going to agree on Course Oblivion, because that's also, like, great Star Trek watching right there. And it's so sad, and I love the sad. And I want to make sure it makes the list, because I don't know if it's going to be on Jake's list. So I'm going to make sure to mention Drone, because I also really like Drone.
That's a
good
great
one, too.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah, our new friend One, played by J. Paul Balmer or something like that.
Something
The
like that.
Nazi from that other episode.
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, I like him a
handsome
lot.
Nazi.
That handsome Nazi. Son
So
of a
many
bitch.
handsome Nazis.
Well,
Ugh. Quick, Jake. Get
Yes,
us out of this
okay,
hole.
all right, fine. I will go.
How many handsome Nazis on Jake's list?
So I will say I strongly debated putting Equinox on this list. And then I realized that really the better half of Equinox is part 2, which isn't season 5.
Fair.
So I didn't feel quite right putting all of Equinox on here. I do like Equinox part 1, but I don't know if it's top 3. So that's why Equinox is not mentioned. But I
Yeah,
wanted
too many other good
I
choices.
wanted to give it an honorable mention. All right, so I guess I'm gonna have to make a game time decision here. I was surprised when I was looking back at the episodes that I actually was like, I'm gonna put this on there. And Timeless.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I know, like, I was kind of hit or miss that episode, but I think in the end, it's compelling enough that that I'm going to include it. And surly old Harry Kim is certainly worth it for timeless.
That's a
The,
great
s-
episode.
the
Fair.
sexiest Garrett Wong has been.
That's fair. It's also a damn good episode.
And then my other two have already been stated.
Gasp.
Relativity.
Yay.
So we have two. I have two time travel ones here.
Good
And,
choice.
And Course Oblivion.
Yay.
And I do my other honorable mention that I do want to mention. It might also surprise you. Gravity.
That does
Interesting.
surprise me.
Yeah, I actually like thinking about that episode, and I liked the performances mostly.
Yeah,
That's
Nos is
fair.
very good.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mention my honorable mention would have been Latent Image. But
That's
yeah,
a good
too many
one.
good ones to
Yeah.
choose from. But does Carl have a list for us?
Any
I do.
curveballs?
This really is an excellent season, isn't it? Like Caitlin, I have Counterpoint.
Interesting.
Yay.
You know, I realize my favorite Voyager episodes are kind of the ones that would make really good short stories that I haven't seen before. And like, I'm always interested when they come up with a new angle on telepaths. Like the idea that you would find telepathy horrible and something like that a fascist government would control is interesting. And like Chris, I have Latent Image, one of the best. I just love endings like that. Like I can't get enough of like sad, ambiguous.
Oh yeah, the
existential
ambiguity
crisis.
is nuts.
Yeah, and you just like that, and that poem from Dante he reads at the end. It's like, holy shit, this guy's evolving. And my favorite is Dark Frontier.
Oh, good.
The origin story for 7 of 9.
Yay!
Which struck me as surprisingly plausible. I had forgotten that she is Norwegian, which I also am. And I know you guys were kind of horrified by the concept of parents bringing their kids to live amongst the Borg. But I got to say, it checks out. I know my people. We would totally do that.
Oh, God.
We
Yeah,
would
I'm
not
glad
want to
someone
deny the
mentioned Dark
educational
Frontier.
opportunity to young 7 of 9.
Those are some good choices, Carl.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
But do we also have bad choices?
We do.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I wonder. I'm curious about what the overlap's going to be like here.
Mm.
Okay. So I will say that as usual, like, if something that stands out to me, usually it's like, if I can remember it well, that's how I know it was either really good or really bad. And the ones that stood out to me as being really bad were thus. Third place, Someone to Watch Over Me.
You're kidding.
Wow.
That's
No.
usually one of people's favorites.
Yeah.
People are dumb.
Wow.
Second place.
Wait, so why is that on your list then?
Just because, like, it was just not interesting, and I didn't like... This is the one where we're doing Pygmalion, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Because it's just Pygmalion, and it's dumb. And the doctor doesn't have to fall in love with every pretty girl that walks into his goddamn medical office. And I don't know. I just didn't.
Yeah. I mean, the thing
I
I
think that's
didn't mention
fair.
this when we were talking about Equinox, but the final moment, the final scene between Doctor and Seven just makes me ship them even more. Like how they're like planning to have a singing lesson in the holodeck.
They're gonna do
Seems
some
like a
My Fair
euphemism
Lady.
to me.
Oh yeah, at 1600 hours. Boom chick boom wow. That's business time.
We're gonna sing some Barry White together.
Oh, that's great. Business time.
Business time.
A link to that
11:59.
song now. Mm-hmm.
11:59. I don't. What a fucking horrible thing. Terrible meet cute. Hated Mr. Janeway. What a boring, curmudgeonly piece of shit. I hated it. And
Meet cute, more like meet shoot.
more like skeet shoot. Anyway, and probably surprising no bun the fight.
I am surprised. No, I'm not
Say,
surprised.
say no more.
Yeah.
Because what the
yeah.
fuck was happening?
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
My bottoms.
Good.
Oh,
good.
but wait a minute. But as an honorable mention, though, and I will say this because I feel like you guys kind of liked it, and I feel like Carl and I were seeing a little bit more eye to eye on this. I really didn't like Warhead. And Warhead was really close to being on my bottom because I thought it was stupid from the beginning. And even if they thought it out well, and even if Robert Picardo gave a great performance, which he didn't like it.
Yeah.
Thought it was dumb.
You're allowed to have a different opinion.
All of my opinions are bad. It's fine.
I didn't say bad. I said different because I'm trying to be more accepting of other people's wrong opinions.
If it helps, while I didn't hate it, I was exceptionally lukewarm on Warhead. So, bottoms. The Disease.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
too many plots, and they focused on the least interesting one.
They did.
Oh, is that the love one where
Love is a disease.
Harry gets a space STD.
Love is a battlefield.
But it wasn't a space STD.
No, it wasn't. But
so, yeah.
The fight, because Jesus Christ.
The fight.
And I'd like to point out, next to all my little, when I put stuff on my list, I'll put the title and then little notes to myself as to why it's on the list.
And you just wrote the fight, duh.
Well, yeah, the fight. Do I even need to explain why?
Mm-hmm.
But next to my number 1 worst episode, 1159, it just says in all caps, Henry fucking Janeway.
The worst.
Fuck that guy in every direction.
Well,
she did.
Shannon O'Donnelly went ahead and did that.
As soon as I said it, I realized what somebody was going to do, and you two did it.
We did it.
So bad.
More
so
things
bad.
I'll do. I'll be the one of us who doesn't shit on 1159. I have other things to shit on.
There.
Yay.
Because I need to shit on Infinite Regress.
Ooh.
Which is the one
that was bad.
Which is the one where Seven suddenly starts having all the other Borg people who've been assimilated take over, like possess her and shit.
Yeah.
And it's just so disorganized, and there's not a good reason for any of the things. And I remember I re-listened to our episode on it, and I remember just having like every time something happened, I was like, "Why is this happening?"
Yeah.
And then there's the really long mind meld chaos.
Oh God, yeah.
That I didn't care for Infinite Regress.
She was great.
That was definitely under consideration.
Jerry
she was
Ryan
fine.
was amazing.
Brent Spiner does it better in Masks, which is saying something.
Whoa.
Nothing against Jerry Ryan, but other things against other people. The disease.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was nothing here. There was no episode here.
Nope.
If they wanted these aliens to seem antagonistic, they were just nice people. I don't understand this episode.
Yeah, no.
And also, we just treat Harry like a baby.
Yeah.
Harry, you can't fall in love with aliens. Everyone else has done it already, Janeway. Fuck you. And the obvious baddie of this season is the fight, because I feel so bad for Beltran. Because I actually I'm a Chakotay apologist. Because people shit on it so much, it's like, there's actually a lot of good in Chakotay.
I don't think you have to be an apologist. I think it's just people don't pay attention and realize he's consistent in his characterization, which doesn't always happen in television, even good television.
Yeah, and making him do this ugly dream sequence bullshit, and just not good. Not good.
No.
How about you, Chris?
Mean Jake?
Oh, you, Jake. I put the answers in the wrong column. Son of a bitch.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Weird.
You're Jake.
Yes. All right. Yeah. So I don't think mine will be a surprise because they've already all been said before.
Wow.
So we're going to go with the disease.
Good choice. Bad choice.
Reasons have already been talked about. I am going to shit on 1159 just because it was, I thought, very poorly executed. It could have been better. Missed opportunities. And
Henry Janeway.
Yeah. Total lack of chemistry.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So bad.
That they would be a thing. And then, of course, surprising no one, the fight.
That's a sweep for the fight.
I will say, I had considered putting on my list, and I'm curious what other people think about this, Extreme Risk.
Yeah, that was bad.
Oh, that one sucks, yeah.
No.
The B'Elanna plot was garbage.
Yep.
I think the thing that kept it off my list was that it introduced us to the Delta Flyer, which I'm like, yeah, okay. We have the cool shipbuilding montage thing, and fine.
And the magic panel that ensures that only Tom will ever be able to fly it.
True.
Yeah,
that's an episode that I give a little credit because I see what they were going for with it. Whereas episodes like The Fight or The Disease, it's like, I don't even know if you guys understood this episode when you were writing it.
Yeah, I can see where the idea was with Extreme Risk. They just really fucking blew it, frankly.
Yeah.
But yes, I can see that almost making a list.
Well, I'm pretty sure my number 3 is wrong, but I don't really care for Nothing Human. Not that it's even though it's great.
You don't find that Nazi attractive?
Right? Yeah. He's not my type.
An unfuckable Cardassian in my Star Trek? No.
Oh God,
Just-
he's
broken
broken
Chris.
Chris.
Dream is dead.
You've killed Chris.
It's unquestionably well acted, but I just think it blows the ending in a major way because it kind of raises some questions that it just comes up with like the pattest answer to, and then it brings up other questions which it ignores, like the Janeway forcing B'Elanna to take that stuff is like that's more interesting.
Oh
to
yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's a tough situation.
Particularly if your question is practically what can you do to stop, Dr. Mangala's, like, where do you draw the line? So I think it, that would have been a really good Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I think they would have really nailed it out of the park. They would have come up with some solution that was unsatisfying to everybody, but like as we do in real life.
Yes.
But
yes.
Number 2, I have Juggernaut. I'm just not that into like B'Elanna is too angry kind of episodes.
Well, especially because it felt like
First season
such a
B'Elanna.
reversion. Yeah. Like,
Yeah. I find actually there are less downright bad episodes of Voyager for me and more kind of pointless and mediocre. Like when Voyager is bad, it's more mediocre than like horrible to
They're
me.
all ones that you say Deep Space Nine should have done this one better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what the kind of like Voyager episodes are, because you see like, oh, if you'd made this serial or if you'd explored more character development, like you really would have made this shine, and you didn't.
I will maintain though that there's no fixing 1159.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine couldn't have done that.
Henry Janeway could have been anyone else.
Well, it's weird. Deep Space Nine did several episodes where they do that exact dilemma. Kira has to go down with her old Resistance farmer buddy and convince them to like sell out to the government, and it's just all in the name of progress, and it's just like a million times more compelling.
Yeah.
You're right. They did do 1159 better. I didn't occur to me. That's kind of a similar. Shit. Well done, Carl.
1159 at least has the cool like, what did your ancestors do? Hook. I mean, that's kind of interesting to me.
That B plot was,
but
outshined the A plot for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, number 1 for me is Warhead, for the reason Caitlin said.
Yes.
It just, there's no reason for it to exist. It's fine, but like, you have it on in the background as you do something else.
Well, Carl, on the one hand, everyone is entitled to their opinions. On the other hand, you fucked up the sweep of the fight.
Oh
I
no!
know.
The fight is still swept. Guest stars don't make
No,
the
I know.
blog post.
Yeah,
I was going to say, you're lucky it doesn't wind up in the blog.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I feel like I was not prepared to stand in the fight's way. I would put the fight fourth, honestly.
Mm.
It's just a sad day.
Yeah,
when they
I still call it a
end the
knockout
fight.
for the fight,
Exactly.
in that it should be knocked out. All right, so those are our tops and bottoms. You can check them out. They're also going to be written up on our blog over at Tumblr, sshbpodcast.com. You know the thing. I say this every week. Have you checked out our blog yet? Do it now. You can see all the screen grabs I grabbed for these episodes. You can agree and disagree on how, some of these are shit and some of these maybe don't belong on the list. We'll see. We do have lots more Voyager to cover because we're entering Season 6. It's going to be a good time. We're going to jump into the first episodes of Season 6, Survival Instinct and Barge of the Dead. Check those out next week.
I kind of remember that one.
Cool.
Sorry.
Yes, that'll be next week. Meanwhile, I already told you to go to our Tumblr. I know you've paused the recording to do that, so thank you. You can also check out our Facebook and our Twitter. They exist. And we'll see you next week. This has been Ames.
This has been Caitlin.
This would be Jake.
This has been Turkey Platter.
This has been BLT.
Delicious.
It's not
Apparently
bad.
Carl and I are dating.